Not
we're
wasting
all back
guest
together.
time. We're together.
We're all back together. We're in my apartment for the first time in quite a few months.
Quite a few months.
Yeah.
It's been illness.
It's just a lot of things. We've all just had a lot to do, and it's very. You guys have to travel a really long distance to get here.
Yeah.
I might as well not be living in this city for how much you have to.
It is nice that you got this apartment that floats in the Hudson, though.
It was 6 weeks ago. I just checked. So
my
that's
God.
twice 3 weeks.
Yeah,
It's Ben.
I mean, honestly, the hardest part is getting into that tiny little rowboat that Josh and I have to traverse, dodge barges in the Hudson River to get to this apartment.
Yeah, but it's worth it because who doesn't love who isn't wanting to be who. What a boat it is.
What a boat it is.
Sometimes
Yeah.
when we're in the boat, Josh and I's knees touch, and it's like it's like banging two bones together.
You know what we're doing is we're knocking knees.
We are knocking knees. Ooh.
I think my favorite thing about the boat that we come to Brian's apartment on is the spooky.
My apartment, which is also a boat.
That's
let's be
right.
clear.
Boat apartment is
It's a boat that's been stranded on an island in the Hudson.
I like the spooky man who paddles said boat. He's always talking about like souls. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Charon. That's my good friend Charon. I
Oh,
went to
yeah.
elementary school with him.
is that
actually.
right?
Carrie's
Yeah.
a laugh. Carrie's a laugh.
Yeah,
you throw him 2 coins and he'll do anything for you.
and I mean anything.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast that'll do anything for you for a few coins. I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible
And
Brian's.
I'm the worst of all possible Josh's. And to celebrate being back in person once
Back
again,
on the boat.
we are returning to the fucking swill, folks.
Yeah.
This is yet another installment of Wit's Endless Summer, the ongoing sub-series of the Worst of All Possible Worlds, in which we review and recap episodes of Adventures in Odyssey, the evangelical Christian radio series made by Focus on the Family. And before you turn that dial, because I know you might be about to do that,
Podcast dial.
Podcast style.
I promise you...
It switches us between us and Trash Future. It's the only 2 settings.
I promise you that this week's episodes are going to be among the wildest yet. You know,
Among Us.
one of the reasons that we like to talk about Adventures in Odyssey on this show is that it provides such a unique window into the evangelical Christian mindset and the reactionary mindset.
Yeah,
right?
we are a mindset podcast.
We are. We're on that grind set. These episodes, even though they were, from the early 90s, it's so interesting to me the way that these provide a window into the exact same mindset that has persevered through to now.
Yeah, these are much less like with another episode, let's say the one where they had the issue with Rodney Rathbone's metal band making pornographic songs or whatever.
Yeah.
That you can point to the very specific moment in time that is referencing. This is a lot more generalized. These feel more at home now than they do, I think, in the early days of Clinton's America, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first episode feels very much of a time and place because it's not, you don't really hear Christians going on about like, oh, this country, everybody's just suing each other in quite the
that's true.
same
That's
way
true.
that it was in the 90s. But
Yeah.
goddamn, this second episode is like, it's ripped from the fucking headlines. They don't have critical race theory to like go against, but
No.
they want to. Like
Yeah,
you can
right.
feel it simmering under the surface.
It's those exact same undertones, the rhetoric, the sort of pointing at different things that we see here. And I guess, without any further ado, we might as well just jump into our
do
first
it. Just
one.
fall
Fuck it. We'll
right
do
through
it
the
live.
skylight.
Full send.
We see Christians standing, they're on the outside, always looking in. Will they ever be more than they've always been? Because, Rathbone's tapping on the glass. He's waving through that window.
Oh, I see what you're
Sure
saying.
is.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
sure
He is
is.
doing that. It definitely do
He's
be
doing,
like
he's
that.
doing some car pranks without the car.
Yeah, so the first one we're talking about this week is A Victim of Circumstance. This is episode 306, originally aired March 18, 1995.
Yeah.
Written and directed by our homeboy, I know you love him, our friend and yours, Phil Lawler.
Yeah, we have a Bart intro here.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I didn't clip it, but this is, they've gone from just having Chris introduce every episode or just having Wits like, oh, hi there. I didn't see you come in.
Right.
I'm working on this. Oh, hold it. And he gets
And
sucked
we
off.
won't see him in the episode.
He gets sucked off by a toilet. It's
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah.
This one is, Bart Rathbone's welcoming yous
Right.
to
Yeah.
listening to Adventures in
He
Odyssey.
says
yeah.
specifically, would you like to join us?
Well, this is one of those things where once Hal Smith died, once Wit fucking died for real,
Yeah.
they started to experiment with a lot of different aspects of the form, you know? And one of the things is, what are other ways that we can bring people into the world of this show? So you get introductions by different characters. The way that it drops you in is sometimes a little bit different, from the conventional, like normally it's just like Wit's tinkering with something at Wit's End, but you don't have that to rely on anymore. And so this episode starts with Jack and Jason. Jack, will remember, is sort of our elderly, wise, charming, good-spirited, grandfatherly one half of Wit.
Scrooge
Yes.
McDuck figure.
Yes.
The owner of Mr. Ed himself.
That's right. And Jason is the young, bold, sort of, he's got ideas and he's got gumption and he's got drive and
He has killed people.
he has.
Yeah, for the government.
Yes. And so, as I had said on previous episodes of Wit's Endless Summer specifically, Jack and Jason sort of represent the duality of Wit.
They
And-
compose a dramaturgical dyad.
That's right.
they form a dramaturgical dyad and
Hey, I was doing a Simpsons reference, but that's fine. Okay.
Well, you know what? Jeremy Strong, go on The Simpsons because it's fucking good again.
No, it's
holy
shut the
shit!
fuck up,
it's
AJ.
so good. I cried 3 times in the most recent episode.
You
How
are a
dare you?
fucking baby. You cry all the time.
I
You
do.
cried because you were hungry and you needed
Yeah, but
Papa.
my mom came in from the other room because she has to live with me. Being a child
Right,
actor,
right, right.
I can't live on my own. So she came and she made me a delicious snack. The chicken fingers were shaped like dinos.
That's so nice for you. So, anyway, Jack and Jason, right? The duality of Wit.
Here's a story about Jack and Jason.
Sucking on a chilling dog. So they've installed a new skylight at Wit's
Yes.
End, and they're just sort of admiring this beautiful skylight.
Ooh.
It's this.
I'm getting ready to close up. Why are you sitting in the dark?
I'm just admiring the new skylight we put in the roof.
Jerking off.
Jason, it's smoked glass. You can't really see anything.
Not true. You can see the glow of the moon as its incandescent rays bathe the office with an eerie somnambulance.
The vibe is great. We love our
The
skylight.
vibes are immaculate here in Wit's office.
The new skylight has upgraded the vibe significantly.
The walls are just caked in Jason's cum.
This
Yeah.
is like well observed because there is nothing like 35-year-old man and his new a DIY home improvement
that's
project.
big
Oh,
He
yeah,
is
yeah.
so proud of that skylight. That is such a real feeling there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like any DIY project that a man in his mid-30s partakes on, his own, it's not very well constructed
No,
and goes
apparently
awry
not.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I thought I just heard something.
You did hear something.
Jurassic Park.
And it sounds like it's coming from up on the...
Oh
Gee.
Jason,
did I ever
Jason, you all right?
to this?
You?
Oh, fine. What happened?
The new skylight caved in.
Wait. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Where's the flashlight?
Top drawer of the desk.
You got it.
Rodney's jerking it.
Rodney Rathbone.
Thank you, Steve Burns, for that moan and that groan.
Good Lord.
That was way louder. The little thumps on the roof, you could never hear it on the tape, even if you listened in the car.
Yeah.
And, listening to it on the computer, not much better. Listening on these headphones.
So foreboding. Dear God. I jumped out of my skin.
But yes, Rodney Rathbone has now crashed through the roof, and Rodney,
Damn.
will remember, is our sort of, he's the local ne'er-do-well, right?
Yeah.
He's a bit of a prankster. He has a mostly harmless gang, and he's always just sort of getting up to hijinks. And in this case, he was climbing around on the roof of Wit's End.
Yeah,
With the high and hijinks.
Yeah, exactly. The jink was high.
The jinx could not be higher.
We end up at the hospital. Jason and Jack are sitting there with Rodney and Bart, and Bart's like, "This, you fucking dumbass piece of shit kid, fuck you."
Yeah.
And Rodney's like, "Oh, I'm hurting so bad," and they're like, "Well, why'd you do this?" And he's like, "Oh, I was trying to do a prank."
Yeah, I mean, Rodney really knows that he fucked up because
Yeah.
even Bart is on Jack and Jason's side here. Like,
Yeah.
when his own dad is siding with the theocratic fascists who run Wits End, like, you fucked up,
When Bart Rathbone, woke revolutionary, finds himself dealing
Comrade
with
Rathbone. Bart describes the doctors of this place as having given his son a pain shot.
Yeah.
What is a pain shot?
Well, have you seen Dune?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that.
Oh, I see.
But it's a shot.
Wait, they made him put his hand in the box?
No, that's what you get. That's the thing. They took the pain box, but they made it into a shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just condenses it. So is he the chosen one? Is he going to eventually lead the revolution?
No, because
and
the
then-
mRNA is going to kill him in 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got like little chips that make you go back in time.
There's also too much pain. There's a max amount of pain.
Oh,
Yeah.
No.
I'm Max Payne.
So
I'm a writer.
once said.
So into the emergency room now arrives a lawyer, a lawyer who's he's a little light in the loafers.
Oh boy, you scared me there. I didn't see he's come in.
I was listening outside the door. Do I understand that your son fell through a skylight on the property of one of those two men?
Yeah.
A skylight he didn't know was there?
Yeah, I did. What's it to you?
Nothing. But it may be a great deal to you. A great deal of money, that is.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Money?
Money?
Money.
His name is Weasel.
Yeah.
Howard J. Weasel.
Now we are.
It's French.
There's a really interesting. It's so interesting that they threw that line in there. Like, oh, it's French.
Yeah.
No, dude, this is a fucking Jewish lawyer. Like, it's so clearly and obviously coded.
But he's like trying to do a Phil Hartman bit here
Right,
too. Like he
yeah.
is trying to do
It's
like
like a
from The
Lionel Hutz?
Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Steve Bridges, who was a George W. Bush impersonator, who not just a George W. Bush impersonator. If you remember the same year of the White House Correspondents' Dinner that Stephen Colbert showed up and,
I remember
and
that.
made some enemies,
Yes.
George Bush
Yes.
did a speech with a George Bush impersonator, and they were doing it sort of side by
So
side.
it was that guy?
It was that guy. It was that
Wow.
guy. That's the guy who's playing Weasel. So the way this bit goes is he hands them this card, and one of them says
Weasel?
and then the next one says,
Weasel.
and then he says, it's Weasel, it's French. And then he takes the card back because he only has one card, which would be a good joke if
Yes.
they like drew some attention to it. He always takes back his one business card,
Yeah.
which is again like a very Lionel Hutz thing,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
have any money.
Yeah.
Works on commission. No, money down. Yeah.
Yeah. But they do this joke, the Weasel, Weasel, it's French, with the attorney at law takes back the card, the whole thing verbatim twice. And then they do it again twice, just slightly different. A couple of like
Oh, so
less. to
so
it,
it's the
yeah.
good old rule of fours.
The good old rule of like 2.5 and another half.
It's
Okay.
not so much a joke as it is a verbal tick at a
Yeah.
certain point. It just
Right.
seems
which
like
describes
Lawler's
Phil
just-
Lawler's jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just filling time. We're all just twiddling our thumbs,
Filling
waiting
our-
for the end.
Filling our Lawler.
Filling our Lawlers.
I mean, I'm always full of lols when I listen to a Phil Lawler episode.
I'm so full of laughter.
I'm so Phil. It's the worst Disney Channel original show there ever was.
Goku, you think that you've had enough laughs, but I'll make you laugh even harder, Goku.
Well, this is just tickle porn. This is something that has some
Yeah.
precedent.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
It all has precedent. It's inflation. I'm wearing the So Full T-shirt
You
right
are.
now.
Yeah. Which
looks
will be
great.
for sale at some point.
Store.worstpossible.world. Go there and
Yeah.
you will
Are
see
we-
these shirts available for sale.
Are we selling it on the Patreon store too?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay, we should figure that
And
out.
shipping out to patrons who pre-ordered this week.
Wow.
Wow.
You're also full of t-shirt because we've been making you eat all the extra ones.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. All the bad t-shirts, all the misprints.
Basically, after this introduction of Mr. Weasel, Jason, of course, is like, well, I've got the biggest hotshot lawyer in Odyssey. It's my dad's lawyer. Because
Fenimore Cooper. The lawyer named after the author of The Last of the Mohicans. For some fucking reason.
This is something that I wanted to just say. Is like, this is Phil Lawler trying to appear like urbane and well-read, right?
Yes,
this is a little
he
like...
did read a book once.
Right,
He can prove it.
And he does this all the time.
Yeah.
He loves to appear as if he is like just a guy who really knows what he's talking about, man. And so he will include things that are not really references. They're just name checks and assuming that you are going to be like, oh yeah, it's not dissimilar from God's Not Dead, where it's got the list of names of philosophers like Bertolt Brecht.
It almost sounds like you're about to sing Down with the Sickness, Josh. Bertolt Brecht.
So, noted lawyer Fenimore Cooper does a consultation with Jason.
And we're so sure going into this, like Jack has made it very clear, you know, he has righteousness in Christ and everything on his side.
Yes.
And nothing this silly could ever work. They couldn't possibly get sued by Rodney because he was doing something criminal, right?
Rodney has a case, Jason.
What?
Pretty solid one, too, from what I can see.
How? He was trespassing.
Not really. Wits End is open to the public.
Not the roof.
Do you have a sign saying that?
Well, no.
Are there any obstacles that might have prevented him from climbing the roof?
No, but anybody...
There you go. And since the accident happened before closing hours...
Look, anyone with an ounce of common sense knows that they shouldn't climb on someone else's roof, especially in the dark.
The court isn't interested in common sense, only the law. Legal precedent is on Rodney's side.
What precedent?
Where have you been, Jason? These days, people win millions because they spill hot coffee on themselves.
Fuck you.
Rodney will be viewed as a victim. He's only a kid after all. It's not his fault he has no common sense. And you just admitted there are no signs around Wits End stating he couldn't or even shouldn't climb upon the roof. So it constitutes an attractive nuisance.
You should have those fucking signs.
Well, and he said he has a trellis that just goes straight from the ground to the roof. Like, okay, so we have to... The hot coffee got mentioned. The hot coffee...
We have to talk about...
Liebeck v. McDonald's restaurants. Let's just take a moment to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the details because if you've listened to our podcast, you probably listened to other podcasts.
Yep.
And this has been talked about in probably every podcast that exists now.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Liebeck, Stella Liebeck in 1994, she lived in Albuquerque, yada, yada, yada. Spilled the coffee on herself in her lap because she was in a Ford Probe, which did not have cup holders. And the coffee was so hot that it gave her third-degree burns that were so severe she almost immediately went into shock.
Yeah,
and they had to go to the hospital and had to...
skin grafts, right?
Yeah, skin grafts and a long, long recovery.
Yeah, it was fucking horrific. And this coffee was too hot. This was not like some sort of frivolous case. This was a real
and it was
medical problem.
She specifically was just like, I want $20,000. That's what my medical fees are going to amount to at the end of the day. And McDonald's was like, here's $800. So then they sued.
Right.
These are people with not a lot of money being squeezed for a lot of money because of medical costs in the United States in the 1990s.
Right.
And eventually they won the case. Now, most interesting thing is I have been to that McDonald's. My band teacher's son busted his head open on the play place over there at one point, and they were all very nervous about getting sued again.
Someone tried to throw coffee at him, and he dodged it and hit his head.
But like, coffee does not get served any cooler as a result.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So hot coffee, the lids already had a warning on them. The warning is bigger now, and the cups are sturdier now, so they're harder to spill overall. But actually, nothing changed. But it's like that coffee was so hot. If she had drank it, it would have caused a lot of trouble for her.
It would have burned her mouth.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. Like it doesn't even matter that she spilled it on herself. It's just that it was just too hot. But this became, of course, for the 90s through the 2000s, it was just like known as the frivolous lawsuit. Some dumbass did something to herself and then sued somebody else for it. And those poor big corporations had to pay out.
The timing here is very relevant, right? Because Liebeck v. McDonald's was decided on August 18, 1994. So roughly
just a few
1
months
year
earlier.
before this episode was released.
Yeah.
And so...
Which means they must have written it very shortly
quickly.
after.
Yeah,
Very
you know
quickly.
what? Phil Lawler, say what you will about him, but he just takes things from the headlines. He rips the hottest stories and he throws them into Odyssey.
So another thing that this is referencing, of course, we just got the coffee reference. That's the case that everyone kind of knows about now because it's like, yeah, this was a legitimate case, actually.
Yeah.
But the Skylight story is referencing something called Bodine versus Enterprise High, which happened about 12 years earlier.
I didn't know
in
this.
1982. So this kid in Redding, California, 18 years old, was
Shout outs to all of our Reading listeners. I know you're out there.
was like screwing
Good
around.
trees in Reading.
Go trees. That's your mascot. Yeah, he was, I don't know, he was screwing around. He stole a floodlight and was going to steal another floodlight from the roof of the school. And the gym had skylights on top of it. And the skylights were all painted over.
Oh.
And it was nighttime. And he ended up falling through one of the skylights at a gym, right? High ceiling. He fell 27 feet.
Jesus God.
He ended up receiving some very serious brain damage that left him unable to speak. He also became quadriplegic as a result of this injury. So this kid, Rick Bodine, his life has just changed overnight. And you can imagine the kind of strain that puts on someone's family, and you're going to do everything that you can to try to get your medical bills taken care of.
Sure.
Right.
Especially with a kid who is now totally paralyzed.
Yeah.
So the family, the Bodine family, ended up filing a lawsuit. The school had liability insurance, and so it never went to trial.
Oh, okay.
Because here's the thing is when something starts going through liability insurance, the party being sued has no say in what happens after that. That's the whole point of liability insurance. It's not just covering the money. It's just covering the thing. They don't show up.
So insurance
yet.
paid out?
Insurance paid out. It was a settlement. So because that's what you do. Because when you're working at an insurance company, you're not looking for moral victories. You are looking at, okay, what's it going to cost us to go to court?
Right.
What's it going to cost us to pay out a settlement?
Yeah.
So they pay out a settlement, which is $260,000 plus a monthly $1,500 for the rest of his life, because that's just how insurance works. But this was another flashpoint in the 80s where it was just like frivolous lawsuits because this kid was doing something that was at the very least a misdemeanor.
Sure.
And a judge ruled that actually didn't matter. And so the insurance company immediately settled after that. And people were like, well, he was doing something criminal.
And no consequences.
Yeah. So and complicating this factor, too, was there was another student who had fallen through a skylight at another school in the same district and died about 3 or 4 years earlier.
Huh.
So
seems like they shouldn't be painting these skylights, maybe.
Yeah. There's something reasonable to be expected here as to it's weird. I'm not necessarily saying that the family has the right to that liability or whatever, but at the same time, it's a more complicated story than that. But by 1985, the California legislature introduces a bill that's if you are committing some sort of criminal activity, you are not going to be able to sue anyone for whatever injuries you might sustain. And then that kind of, it's not in every state, but it became a pretty widely accepted doctrine.
I mean, but it was also fine. Do you know what I mean? They worked out. The liability insurance paid out and nobody, it didn't cause a collapse to the system.
No,
so why
it's not even a private business. It's not like somebody once told me the world's going to roll me.
Yeah.
It's the state. It's just, it's not a big deal really for in terms of the entity that has to pay out. It's really just another line on the ledger. Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.